Thanks for checking out Wayne.com for another edition of Inside the Zone. Blake Sebring of the News Sentinel to talk Comets hockey. We could argue numbers, semantics, we could argue all sorts of things. The only question that really matters is, can the Comets, down 0-2 in this series after 2 home losses, can they come back to win it?
Well, I don't think anybody has any doubt that after what we've seen so far this year, they can go over to Missouri and win 1 game. So why can't they win 2? I wouldn't even put this team away if they're down 3-0. I think it'd be very, very difficult and almost impossible, but we've seen stranger things out of this team. There's 3 times in the last 10 years they've come back from 3-1 deficits. So if they get it to 3-1, who knows? Then you just got to win 1 game on the road and you come home. So anything's possible.
Anything is possible.
That kind of got proved in the first 2 games. Anything is possible.
That's true.
Even stuff you've never, ever seen before.
2 home losses in a row. What is it about this Comet team that has you thinking they could come back and still win this thing?
Oh, because you go in the locker room after the game and Colin Chalk is still fired up. If he wasn't fired up, then you'd say, okay. But it's like you look around the room and he's talking to the media. And everybody there, the rest of the players are all like leaning in to hear what he has to say. If they were out of it, if they had given up, they'd be doing their own thing. And I didn't see that at all.
So the mentality is still 2 games, yeah, that's terrible, but
they totally outplayed them.
Yeah.
For one thing.
Especially on Friday night. So let's go back to that, because that's what Comet fans are talking about. They're not talking about the overtime goal, which was kind of unfortunate the way it got into Nick and in the pads. You don't see Nick do that very often. 19 seconds left. Break down what you saw in that game.
Okay. Brent Henley is battling John Scott Dixon, behind the net, and they get tangled up, and Brent's knee buckles, and he falls into the net. At the same time, there's a player for Missouri who's coming around the net to shoot on Nick, and it's almost simultaneously. And to the referee who's watching the player with the puck, it probably seemed simultaneously. So he ruled immediately that that Henley had knocked the net off on purpose. I had the benefit of seeing a replay from behind the net, which made a big difference in what I could see. Mm-hmm. And you can definitely see we can definitely see that Brent stumbles. It wasn't a conscious effort that I felt to knock the net over. But in a bang-bang situation like that, the referee's got to make the call right away. I could see where he might think that. Seeing as from his perspective of the Missouri player shooting on the goal at the same time, then okay, I can understand where he could possibly come up with that. Not the call that I would make. I don't know that you could have a whole nother discussion on whether you want the referees to make the call that might decide the game and all that. There's been a philosophy change in that over the last 10 years that it's a foul. If it's a foul in the first minute, it's a foul in the last minute. There's been a philosophy change among hockey for that. So you could do a whole debate on that. And then Missouri scores the shootout goal.
Yeah, Ed McGrain converts the penalty shot, and then we saw the game-winning goal at the end with unfortunately Nick Boucher unable to corral that one. No conspiracy theories. What was the reaction from CHL officials? What was the reaction from the league based on, the Comets were unhappy and
sure. Oh, and they got
let it be known.
Yeah, and they let it be known immediately.
Michael Franke especially.
Right. They were very upset. I think part of this is all building up. And I blame the league in this aspect of it, and I've talked to the league about this. You got to respond immediately to, this is why we did this is what happened, blah, blah, blah. You can't just ignore it and think it's going to go away. You need to convey what your reasonings were. They called it exactly right on the Conrad Reeder hit on Kaylee Schrock, and they explained it because Schrock wasn't hurt and he was faking. But they missed. I believe they had the reason that they said for the Jeff Krzakis hit on Brett Smith wasn't a suspendable offense is because they said Smith rolled into the hit. That's hard to say, but they didn't say that till a week later. If you say these things in front and people can see that there is some thoughtful reasoning into it, it's not going to change a lot of people's mind, but at least it gives you that option of studying that part of it. And the league has not done a very good job with that this year.
So the Comets turn around from that disappointing loss on Friday in overtime to play again at home on Saturday.
And I thought Missouri was actually much better Saturday.
Really?
You could tell their legs were much more into the game early. They took it to the Comets early. They were much more aggressive and opportunistic. Nick lost the second goal in the crowd from along the boards. That's my presumption. He didn't talk about that, but that's my presumption because it didn't look like he saw it very well from the replay. And Al made the change, and it really didn't seem to matter much. I don't know, do you make that change? I mean, it's really hard looking back. I mean,
Right.
How do you know? You got to go with your gut.
Yeah, and you took a look at Festa. He knows that team better than anybody,
Right.
the ins and outs, having played for them half the season. So who do you see as say the series, they play 3 in Missouri.
Okay.
Do you see Festa getting a start there?
No, I don't. I go back with Nick. Nick is proven. Nick has been in this situation many times before. Nick is still your best chance to win this series.
Well, you can't lose the first game on Wednesday there. I mean, you simply can't go down 3-0 and come back and win this series. What do the Comets have to do right off the bat in the first game in Missouri to be more successful than they were this past weekend?
They got to do just what they've been doing. I mean, they've outshot them 82-51, and you look at the scoring chances, and I would say they've been 3 or 4 times more than Missouri has gotten. Missouri's just cashed on theirs. They've done a great job. I mean, they've done a fantastic job of waiting for the Comets to make a mistake and then taking advantage of it.
How good has Effinger been, though?
Oh, Effinger's unreal. I said Saturday night that might have been the best first period I've ever seen on AA goalie half. I mean, that was like Pokey in '93. I mean, it was just like, okay, there's the puck, I'll throw a pad out. I don't see it, but I hear it, I'll just throw a pad out. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, he was amazing. And I felt like the Comets had guys in front. They didn't have them in the right spots, but how do you predict,
Sure.
You had 2 guys there. I'm taking pictures, and there's 2 guys there. Most of the time, the puck just doesn't bounce to them. It bounces away, or it bounces back up the middle where there's 2 guys on the side. Or, okay, so you put a guy in the front and on the side, and then it goes the other way. I mean, he was very good at controlling his rebound.